amazing turnout. But I'm going to say a few words, and then I think Jeff is going to finish. But when I was thinking about, when I was thinking, yeah, Jeff always has the last word. But when I was thinking about Dad, I'm kind of amazed at the influence that parents have on our lives. I found myself mimicking Dad in many ways. I think the thing I always enjoyed most about Dad was his really odd and random, completely random sense of humor. Dad was so strange. I think I may have topped him by now, but Dad would always find the strangest humor in things. Typically, it would be somebody else's misfortune. if we're being honest about it, but Dad would whip out something. He'd say something just real fast, like right in the middle of something, and it was totally deadpan. There's no smile, no laugh. It was just a statement, and he was and it was funny, and we would all laugh, and then Dad would continue to beat the horse until well after its death, and to the point where you'd be rolling your eyes, like, okay, we get it, Dad, that's enough. But it was always just deadpan, just no laugh, no smile. But then, inevitably, all of a sudden, there would be something happen in everyday life that would provide the perfect context for Dad's little quip. And he would say it, and it would be just laugh out loud, hysterical. And we'd all die laughing, and that was the moment that Dad was waiting for. That's when he joined in the laugh. And that was great. And then he finally moved on from it. We wouldn't have to hear it again, but he was always waiting for that moment. But so obviously, patience was the virtue of Dad's quips. I always thought he was really smart. But one of the things I remember, that Mom had a package under the Christmas tree every year from John Havlicek, the famous Boston Celtic basketball player from the 70s and 80s. I remember Havlicek. I mean, just because, but it was there every year. I mean, Dad was really, when he dedicated himself to a joke, he would not let it go.
Havlicek, he told me, sitting at the dinner table and I didn't like some vegetable. You better eat those green beans that John Havlicek eats those all the time.
So, Terry can tell you that her big Christmas gift every year comes from Doug Kavitsky. And it makes her laugh every time, but my personal favorite was the year she got a generous gift from Blue Diamond Phillips. So I've taken Dad's randomness, I think, to the next level. But Dad was famous for his kicks too. You know, he found his favorite restaurant, and it was never a good restaurant. It was something like Black Eyed Peas.
Cotton Patch.
The one I remember, I was the youngest by far, but when I was a kid, I remember Judge Roy Beans in Addison. That little hamburger place. It was so random. But we ate at that same restaurant every Saturday night until Dad finally got sick of it. It'd be about 6 or 7 months. But every Saturday night until he found his next one, and it'd start all over.
He wears them out, boy. Same thing.
Yeah. But really, above everything, above all things, Dad was a family man. And, Dad loved, and he was fiercely proud of his wife and his children, and later his grandchildren. His focus every day was always to promote, and protect, and provide for his family. That was Dad. I think Jill and Jeff can back me up on this, but when Dad would evaluate our performance on stage. He was very realistic. Like, you know,
I think it was beyond realistic.
yeah, it was
To
stigma.
the point where you're locked in your room for the next 3 days weeping. Such a failure.
Well, now, let's not go too far though. Dad still though, he found a way to be positive and enthusiastic about everything he presented to us. And really, Dad made us believe we could do anything. He really did.
He did. He kept it light. Remember our soccer team in high school? And the ball hit me in the stomach. And so I immediately dropped and I couldn't breathe. We had the wind knocked out of it. And you would have thought it was like the scene from that movie. He was dying laughing. I was like, on the ground, actually injured. He kept it light. Do y'all remember that?
He was laughing when you were at the bottom of the steps and pushed you off the second floor in English
That
Village.
too. That too. It's all very funny.
You're finally admitting to that?
Sorry.
That's a joke. There was a black cat that did it.
We all know it.
Yeah.
But, you know, Dad was truly, he was my role model. He was honest and honorable and capable in all things, and that's the kind of man I've always tried to be, that I've always succeeded. Probably more so than but when I thought about Dad as a child, and when I think about him now, and always, I'm proud to call Buddy Lucas my father. I know Jill and Jeff feel the same way, and my mom's proud of him. But Dad at 82, he had outlived most of his friends and colleagues. But the day after his obituary was published, I got a call at the office, and I heard, "Andy, this is Bill Sullivan." And I was like, I hadn't heard that name in decades, but it was Dad's close friend and business associate throughout his career. Well, they were executives together at Pearl for almost 20 years, and Bill was the person that gave Dad his big break and hired him as president of Omega. You know, Bill hadn't talked to Dad in I think almost 20 years. But I said, Bill, I want to send you a picture. Terry and I cleared out Dad's storage unit, and we found a picture of Dad. I think Bill and Ben and Belinda will remember his dad in high school, suit and tie.
Oh, a suit and tie, yeah.
Probably 1955, but he was.
Oh, you thought he was so
He was cool.
Lee Majors.
He was cool.
His mother told him.
But anyway, I put those pictures up in the office, and I sent them to Bill, and Bill sent me a letter. I said, "Andy, great talking with you today. Thanks so much for sharing with me the info on Buddy. I did talk with Valerie this afternoon. Thanks for providing me her phone number. That picture of Buddy you sent was super. That must have been around high school graduation or TCU days. Buddy and Valerie told us several stories of Buddy's football experience at TCU. The other two items on the wall, I can add some background. My boss at Pearl was a Harvard MBA, and he suggested Buddy attend this program. So, Dad going to Harvard, that was the greatest thing ever. Now, how often do you talk? Oh, I'm a Harvard man.
He went, they sent him there for 6 weeks. And he came back and was grown.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a Harvard MBA, I think that's what it is. But I thought back to that was around 1985, and he said, I know Buddy profited from his Harvard experience. This was in 1985, just before Pearl was acquired by Grand Metropolitan in the UK. The other item was done by the Omega Sales Group at the annual sales meeting. So it was a little dollar bill that Dad had for him. And the annual sales meeting was at Barton Creek in Austin. Omega had 75 to 90 sales reps. Buddy was well known and well regarded at Omega as a staunch guardian of the check. This was an honor bestowed on Buddy by the sales team in recognition and appreciation of his turnaround work and success at Omega. It was also a huge sign by the sales team of the respect they had for Buddy. Thanks for sending these pictures. But that was nice of Bill to reach out. They both thought a lot of each other. So, I think I'm being a little bit like Jeff.
I know, I was going to say, we're going to have a short intermission and then we'll get to that.
But let me close with this. When I looked to the Word of God, I thought about Dad's humility. So I was drawn to Romans 12:3, gifts of grace. And the scripture reads, "For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned." For as in one body,
You can't trust these older Asian women. They look young as fuck,
we
but
have
they
many members, and the members do not all have the same functions. So we, though many, are one body in Christ,
Wait, 5'10" Bill.
and individually members one of another.
Bro, telling me, I call that fake Filipinos, bro. If you over freaking like 5'5",
Having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us use them. In prophecy, in proportion to our faith; in service, in our serving; the one who teaches, in his teaching; the one who exhorts, in his exhortation; the one who contributes, in generosity; the one who leads, the zeal; the one who does acts of mercy, in cheerfulness. All yours, big brother.
All right, well done. Well, I got to tell you, can you get my voice a little weak? Can you guys hear me back there? I specifically am so blessed to have the family that the Lord has given me. My brother and sister are just incredible people, and the way that they've stepped up over these last couple of years is my health has declined some, and my dad's health was declining. Knowing that my mom was getting just beyond the point where she could take care of my dad, they really stepped in and stepped up. And I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate that. But that's the way our family has been, for all of my life. I mean, we've all been very close all the time. We're not going to let offense set in. We're going to remain in love with one another, and we're going to share time with each other. So it doesn't matter that Andy tried to swing a golf club to take my head off. He's my brother. Now, I may be upset for a moment, that's natural, but he's my brother. And I love him. My sister, God bless her, I mean, she's a workhorse, and she's the steady, calming influence of our family. So I really appreciate that. And of course, my mom has been the matriarch of our family. She's really the one that kind of led us to our faith. She's just been a saint her whole life. She's lived a life of lived a life of service.
People know me.
That's why they can concur. So, moving over to my dad, our dad was a very unique man. And when Andy was talking about his professional life, I am so incredibly proud of him for how much he excelled with, I'm not going to say he had limited abilities or limited cognitive abilities. He didn't have any shortcomings, but he definitely had some stuff that weighed on him from his childhood and growing up. For him to overcome that, to fight through things that he was uncomfortable with, to try to excel to give us a better life. What more can you ask for from a father or a husband, grandchild, friend, whoever? So I am most thankful that he provided us with a life that we could go out and be who the Lord has called us to be. So that's what I'll start with. And I'll tell you, I'll read this letter. And this isn't me talking now. This is my dad. It's a long letter, so bear with me. But he wrote this letter in May of 2016. So the girls' lives, especially all of our lives, have really changed since that time frame. But I think he was sensing his mortality at that point, and he wanted to get on paper how he felt about his family. And so here's what he wrote. I have been blessed to have a great family, one that any man would be proud of. First, my wife Valerie. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Boy, have I heard him say that a million times. I was most lucky to have her pick me. That's the truth. All through our marriage, she was the strength of the family. As a mother, she took responsibility of raising the children, and what a great job she did both then and now. Joe and Andy probably too, me. So he said, when I had problems, both personal and business, Valerie was there to support me and be my strength. Valerie is there for all the grandkids at all times, and oh, how she loves them and is so proud of them. Truly, Valerie is a special person. Then he goes on to say, my children, let's start with the oldest, Jeff. I hate reading things about myself, but I shan't digress. His character, drive to create strong business, ability to be a great leader and speaker, an excellent father whom his children look up to and admire, are just some of his great character traits. I had a lot of fun watching Jeff grow up and excel at sports. Those were good times. He could really hit some long home runs. He really had some good strikeouts too. As soon as they learned how to throw the deuce to me, those were some good times. I really respect Jeff for becoming a Christian and passing along that to his family. So that sentence is very interesting because he said, I respect Jeff for becoming a Christian, kind of indicating or inferring that he was not. So that has been something that's weighed on us for many years because we want to make sure that he was set for all eternity. Anyway, he goes on to talk about my sister. He says, Jill, my only girl, and what a girl she is. She had my heart when I looked at her as a child, and I bragged that she looked just like me.
All heard that.
When I knew it wasn't true, she looked a lot better. Jill excelled in her schoolwork in high school and in college, which I was so proud of. Thanks for making me look bad. Now Jill excels in being a mother and has raised 3 beautiful children who she supports in all their endeavors. Andy, our youngest, and quite frankly was a mistake, but he's going to be a mistake for me. As a youngster, he really excelled in sports. I remember one man told me that Andy was probably the best basketball player that the YMCA had ever seen. And I have no doubt that Andy was, and probably still is. But more importantly, Andy was very studious and graduated magna cum laude. Andy went to law school at Baylor and passed the bar on his first try. Quite an accomplishment. Now he is the Somerville County Attorney in Central Texas. 2 of my grandkids, Tate and Lauren, are now in college and doing very well. Again, they're both out now. And thank God they graduated. I know this will make them successful in their chosen careers. While in high school, both were overachievers. Lauren was a cheerleader and Tate was a Highland Belle, the dance club that entertained at halftime at football games. Tate and Lauren are blessed with beauty that every girl would like to have and are both very smart. Gray, my only grandson, I don't really have much to say about him. I'm kidding, I don't know where he is.
He's over there.
Gray, my only grandson, is following in Tate's footsteps and excelling in his studies, even when making the same ACT impressive score. Gray and I have had a lot of fun kidding one another, which has been really fun for me, and I hope helped. Our special handshakes have meant a lot to me. Gray has proven to be a real good football player, and I have enjoyed watching him play. He was on the Highland Park State Championship in 2016, where he started at right guard, which he needed to wear more of. Started at right guard and made all district. All right. Last but surely not least are my two very beautiful youngest granddaughters. Grace, who I always called Gracie, and Reese, who I always called Reese. Very creative. What a fun time I have had kidding with them both. They both excel at extracurriculars, Gracie at her band, and Reese at dance. Gracie always plays a mean game of cards. I truly believe they will follow in their sister's footsteps as they grow up and do very well in life. They have had a wonderful upbringing. I do not want to leave out my in-laws. Brady, Jill's husband, who I really didn't approve of. Brady, Jill's husband, has done really well in supporting his family. I know that he loves my daughter very much, and that means a lot to Valerie and me. Anya, Jeff's wife, has been very supportive of Jeff and his endeavors. She is very industrious and has helped Jeff support their family. She has been very fun to be around and is very good and supportive of their children. Terry, God bless her. That's what it says, but doesn't have a comment. I just put in. Terry, God bless her for being a great wife to Andy. She also helps support their family with two girls. I really think that Andy made a good choice. There we go. So there it is, my great family, which I have pride in and have loved as much as I possibly could have loved. Thanks to each of you for being a part of my life. Buddy Lucas, parentheses Papa, which is what the grandkids call him, February 25th, 1939 to April 12th, 2021. So, things impressive about my dad, one of the things that's impressive is that he's been retired since about 1998, and he hasn't spent a nickel. So he was so intent on leaving his family in a good spot, so that we wouldn't have to worry about things, and that my mom could do the things that she's wanted to do for the last 21 years while he's been sitting and watching TV. Preferably the Virginian or Bonanza, which he recorded, by the way. Who records series from the mid-1960s? So,
I can't do
I always told my dad, and this letter at least kind of confirms what I was trying to get through to him for many years, that the way that I think a man should be measured is by his family. It's not by his business or how much money he has or doesn't have, or the clothes he wears or the cars he drives. It's about his family. So I said, Dad, you got 3 pretty good kids, and you have 5 grandchildren that are spectacular and doing extremely well. And then Emily and Haley came into the family as well, so we had 7 grandchildren. When you look across a group of 7 kids at that time, tell me where you can find 7 kids that didn't fall into, at least one of them fall into a big mess. So the intentionality that my father had, that my mother had, that we have had on our kids, and that Andy has had on Haley and Emily, I think have been a real blessing that will carry on for generations to come as our family grows, even when we may pass on. So I'll share the 3 memories that kind of mean the most to me about my dad. The first is when my dad was coming up the corporate ladder and was trying to excel, he would go into work on Saturdays to kind of make sure the plant was running well and that the numbers were looking right and all that. So I was always impressed by that. But I was more impressed that he would take me every Saturday with him. So we'd go in every Saturday morning, until about 7 or 7:30. And about 11:30, we would be able to leave, and I knew exactly where we were going. He was taking me to the Surrey Diner on Forest Lane, which doesn't exist anymore. So we would go and have our hamburger, sit across from one another and talk, and those were really great times for me. Probably the only one of the bad times during that time was when one of the guys in the factory had to go tell my dad, hey, you need to come help your son. I had my arm lodged up one of the vending machines and it got caught. They didn't have the same safety protocols they do today. And so I'd gotten several candy bars out. Then my arm got stuck. So he had to come.
The honest thing didn't pass.
Certainly has a leg, for sure. My second memory of my dad that really tore me up was one day he was over at my house. This must have been, I'm going to say it was 13 years ago or so. So he was at our house. I was out of the room. And I walked back into our kitchen and the kitchen area. And my dad had Grace on one knee and Lauren standing inside the other knee. And I said, oh, this is really interesting. He's really, and his arms around both of them. He's really spent some good quality time with my girls. I was really pleased. And then I heard him say, Lauren, Grace, I really love you both so much. And to hear those words, because he came from a generation that didn't really share feelings and words like that, to hear those words in my ear that he was speaking over my girls tore me up. I had to make a detour out the kitchen into our bathroom because it really choked me up that much. So I was thrilled that he was blessing my girls like that. And then the third story, third memory that I have that really, I'm not going into the funny stuff. I'll try to keep it serious since he's gone. My mom was telling me to wrap it up. So the third story is after I had my first brain surgery back in 2019, probably March of 2019, I woke up, my dad was the only one sitting by my bed. He was sitting right by my bed, fretting over me, really emotional, wishing that it was him in bed, not me. And we got to talking, and I just asked him, point blank, because we beat around the bush for a long time on this topic, but I just asked him, hey Dad, what is it that you believe? When we both go, I'm just interested to hear what it is that you believe in your heart. And he said, well, Jeff, I may not show it as much as you, but I do believe Jesus is my Savior. I've received him in my heart, and I believe that I'll be going to heaven. And I told him, we both started to tear up during this thing as we were talking. It was a condensed version. And we were both crying in this thing. And I told him, I said, Dad, do you know that I would go through this 1,000 times, just told one of this, to hear those words from you once. So to hear him profess it with his mouth, because we have to profess it in the Bible, I know that we're all going to see my dad in heaven. And to think that part of his legacy now, even though we may have been believers before him, he got it before it was too late. And now I can look at my mom, my sister, my brother, my two girls, and my brothers, or my sister's kids. And I look at my brother and the strides that he's made, and Terry's just been such a godsend to us. And I look at all of us, and we're all saved. So what more can I ask for from my mom or my dad or my siblings or my wife, Anya, who's prayed over our girls every day of their lives since they have been born. So I'm extraordinarily thankful for that. And I had will you hand me that phone right behind you? Just drop. I had a scripture that I got prompted to that I just wanted to share with you guys. And going on, so you don't have to worry, I'm not going to be here all day. So it's It's Isaiah 12:2, and I really thought that this fit my dad, his latter part. It says, "See, God has come to save me. I will trust in Him and not be afraid." And fear was my dad's biggest problem. And he still battled it up until the day he passed. It says, "The Lord God is my strength and my song. He has given me victory." And what a word that is, victory. You know, to know that, because we're here, you know, I mean, I'm sure that I know all of us 50 up people are looking back and looking back at our lives and saying, where did it go? It's just like that. We're looking around at our kids and we say, my gosh, they're all grown. My daughter's engaged. Now, even though I don't approve of her, I absolutely love her, by the way. And, you know, Grace and often school studying stuff that Ronnie and I could never even think about. We could barely read the titles to her classes. And, you know, so she and Ballard came to join us today. I'm really thankful for that. So I just look around here and I see love. I see a sense of peace. We're at peace. Man, how valuable is peace? I can tell you this for me. Peace, love, and my faith have gotten me through these last 2.5 years where I haven't had a moment of anxiety or fear. And that can't be anything but the Lord. So I thank God for my dad. I thank Him for blessing us with the family that we have. I thank Him for blessing us even when He's passed on. You know, I try to tell the grandkids, because we all got to speak to another blessing. Everybody got to speak to him before he passed. And man, what a blessing that was. Grace got there the day before he passed. The next day, you know, he felt like, hey, I'm done now. He had peace to let go and go be with the Lord. So I have role models around me. People are setting good examples. I hope I'm a little bit of encouragement for some of you as well. And I got my early role model over here to our left, Kyle Kegler. You know, if I hadn't been around him when I was a teenager, who knows? And I'm sure the Lord would have probably brought somebody else because He has a destiny for my life. But you know, it's people like Kyle and my dad, my mom, a couple other people at our church that really kept me on the straight and narrow. So, not that I hadn't made mistakes, I've made massive ones. But just because I've made those mistakes doesn't disqualify me from being involved. Right now, Lauren's telling me to wrap it up. I'm just telling me to wrap it up. The Lord says, Jeff, wrap it up. So, I just want to say, for my mom and I, and my brother and sister, and the rest of our family, I'll reiterate, thanks again. And thanks for loving us. And I'll tell you, I'll ask this, I'll make this one plea to you all. You're all very close to us. You know, right now my mom's getting all kinds of love and support from all of them. So what about 6 months from now? What about years from now? What about 2 years from now? Because she's going to be around for a while. So I just encourage you guys, and I ask you to call and check on her. Come by and see her. In Jesus' name, that's a lot. So thank you guys. I love you all. We all love you. And please eat and drink because we don't want the foxes to get it. Amen.
Thank y'all.